welcome to Inspiring Women with ADHD. I'm Renee Allen, the host of this podcast, and I'm back from my vacation. I'm finally ready to start talking again. I don't know if you ever get back from a vacation and think, okay, that was really great. I loved every bit of it. I did. I loved every bit of my vacation I just went on. And when I say vacation, that makes it sound like it was, staying at a resort or going to Europe or something like that. It wasn't. It was going back to places where I used to live, three different parts of California, seeing really good friends, some that I've known since I was little, some that I've known really well as an adult or the past 10 years, family members, aunts, uncles. Both my parents are still alive. I feel very grateful for that. I loved so much of my trip, so much that each stage of it, I visited three different places. Santa Cruz, my little town of Willits, which hardly anyone's heard of. It's north of San Francisco, and further north up in the Redwoods along the coast. I went up there too. And each part of the trip, I thought, I don't even want to go on the next part of the trip. I just want to stay here longer. I can never leave. I got really attached to the people, the ocean, the familiarity of where that was. And it was good for me because it made me ponder why I get so attached. And if any of that has to do, well, obviously it has to do with my brain. I don't know if it's associated with ADHD. That's something else I want to look into. I did do a little research last year and saw that attachment to memories, attachment to things that you can't get rid of because it reminds you of that time, attachment to people is a different mental disorder, or I don't know if you call it a disorder. I'll have to look into it again. But it wasn't directly, it's kind of like RSD. I don't know if you've heard of that, rejection sensitivity disorder. I guess that is a disorder. So each of these things that are not the norm, and you might find that in yourself. You find something like, why do I get so attached to these things? I get so drawn. I love it so much. I love people so much. I don't want to leave them. It makes it so great to be with them. The highs are high and the lows of leaving are hard. Yet I come back home and think, oh, I love being home. And I kind of wish I hadn't left because now it's going to take me forever to regroup and get back in the swing of things. Do you ever feel like that? Like how do I get back into that routine that I had before? And that can be after you've gone on a trip. It can even be after a weekend. It can be after a move. If you move somewhere, it's really hard sometimes to develop patterns that are important to you, but you can't quite get yourself to do again. And I look at babies because I've had a lot of babies. I have six children. I look at babies and they do similar things. So maybe it's human nature that it takes a little bit of work to get into a pattern, and that pattern's not guaranteed. We get into that pattern and we think, oh, this is nice. I've set up this system. I've made it easier for myself. My brain doesn't have to work so hard because I know what to do. And then we have a switch, like going out of town or moving or getting sick, getting injured, something that takes us out of that normal routine. And we have to do a little work to get there again. And I don't know if you've seen that with babies, but I did with sleeping, getting them to sleep through the night. I didn't learn with my first one. I think I was too tired from getting up all night to learn how to help her sleep, so I didn't have to get up all night. But with my second baby, I thought, I cannot go 2 more years without sleep. So I bought books and read and used what I learned in those books with my other children. And who knows if that's what they still do now. Everything changes, right? But what I learned mostly was if my baby got sick or if we went out of town, it would take that baby out of that routine. And however many days it took to help them fall back to sleep on their own without crying or that sort of thing, it took that long again. because they were out of that routine. They just had to learn it again. So I'm still learning how to be back home. And I've seen it show up in my executive dysfunction. It's taken some peaks. I don't know if you've ever had days where you think, I don't usually do this, and yet this isn't beyond what I could believe I was capable of or not capable of. So here's an example. I went to the post office yesterday and I felt pretty good about myself because my son had asked me to send him something in the mail, actually, maybe more than 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I completely forgot about it. So he asked me about it again yesterday and said that he needed it by Friday so he could use it on Saturday. So I thought, okay, I'll take care of this. It was some clothes. I needed to actually wash them before I sent them. Long story there, but I washed them by hand to save time. So I had a brain that was working, right? Like if I put it in the washing machine, that will take longer. I'll wash them by hand. I'll, scrub the stains, whatever. I'll dry them, package them all up. That takes some organization, right? To figure out, okay, I'm going to get the address. I'm going to make the package, what box, whatever. And what time does the post office close? So all those things in my mind were working, and I even thought, well, while I'm there, I'm going to go to the hardware store because there are some light bulbs in the laundry room that I haven't replaced in over 2 months. And I've tried, I think I mentioned it here before, I tried just ordering from an online company. I won't out them, but twice they arrived broken. So so I thought, okay, I have had a hard time getting myself to go to the hardware store to buy these. I will do it and I'll order them online. So I just pick them up. So I did that. I went to the post office, got there 10 minutes before it closed. I even planned a little further ahead because I thought, well, once I go to the post office by 4:30, right before it closes, I'll go to the hardware store. If I go back home, I'll get home and there'll be only 45 minutes before I need to be at the gym to teach yoga. How about if I plan ahead? More executive function, right? I was working well. And I grabbed my workout shoes, I found my earbuds, and thought, okay, I'm planning this out. This is great. So went to the post office, brought in the package, and was talking to the lady and everything. She saw that I had a tank top on it with a sea turtle. It's just a Life is Good shirt. I like their t-shirts. I think they're soft. Anyway, she said, "Oh, have you seen the sea turtle stamps?" And I thought, I don't really need stamps, but I thought, no, I haven't. Why are you so excited to tell me about the sea turtle stamps? And she said, your shirt. And I thought, oh, okay. It wasn't like I bought the shirt because I love sea turtles. It was just on sale, but it is a cute shirt. But anyway, so I looked at the stamps and thought, yeah, those are really cute. But in my mind, I'm thinking, I really don't need stamps. I hardly ever use them, and I still have Christmas stamps left from last year. But the people pleaser part of me was partially thinking I might buy them anyway. So I was asking her, how much are they and stuff. Anyway, so she goes off, and another lady comes in and helps me. So my mind's going around, and how long will it take to ship this? Which option? Push yes, no, the whole thing that you do when you're at the post office. And and then I finished right before 4:30. Another customer came in right before me. I walk back out, have my little belt bag, grab my keys, grab my sunglasses. I have the little things in my mind that I need before I get to the car. Sunglasses, keys, phone. Oh, I don't have my phone. I looked in my belt bag quite a few times and my phone wasn't in there. And I thought, did I leave it in the car? No, I know I didn't leave it in the car because as I was walking into the post office, I went out of my apps in case one of them made noises, like if you have a podcast app on or something. I didn't want that to happen. So I was methodical about things enough to remember, no, you had your phone when you walked in. Go back in. Oh, I hope they haven't closed the door yet. You know how they close it sometime right at the time that no more customers can come in. So I walked back in. Thankfully, the door was open. Came in. Did I leave my phone on the counter? And I looked, and there was no phone on the counter. And both ladies were there, and they were saying, "No, I don't think so. Did you leave it in your car?" And I said, "No, I don't think so." And one lady said, "Do you want me to ring it for you?" And I thought, well, that won't really help because I never have my ringer on. I hardly ever have my ringer on because I forget to turn it off. and then it interrupts my yoga classes. So I usually just go with the other default, never have it on unless my kids say, "Why don't you ever answer your phone?" Then I think, "Oh yeah, I'll turn it on." But anyway, I was kind of waving with my hands saying, "No, that won't work because I don't have my ringer on." And then she started saying, "There's your phone. There's your phone." And I thought, "What?" And she said, "You have your phone." And in my left hand, I have one of those loopy things. I don't know if you have one. It's a loop at the back of your phone case so that I don't drop my phone, so I don't break the screen as badly. It still cracks up. But anyway, so I had it on my hand and I was waving at her with my hand. And and then they were both saying, "You have your phone, you have your phone." And then the customer, all three of them were looking at me and I thought, "Oh yeah, I love my phone." And I walked out. And I thought, how does that happen? How does that happen? I mean, it happens sometimes when I'm looking for my sunglasses as I go out to the car and they're on my head. But publicly, when you're talking to people about it, you've considered all the options. Clearly, I hadn't considered all the options. But I thought, there's always a glitch, isn't there? Like here I am functioning well. I made it to the post office on time and I got the package all made, the clothes all washed, made it to the hardware store, bought the light bulbs, went to the gym, worked out, had my yoga class, went and grabbed some food on the way home because I was so hungry and got home. And all the way home I thought, I'm just famished. And I would have eaten on the way home, but I asked my husband if he wanted me to get him something too. I walk in the house, I had everything but the food. It was still in the car. So I go back out in the heat. Oh yeah, I left the food out here. Came back in with it and told my husband, yeah, I went to the hardware store too. I finally got the lights. Realized I hadn't brought in the lights either. But yeah, we just can't keep everything in our brains. I'm hoping I'm not the only one. Yeah, I hope I'm not the only one. Actually, at the post office, I felt like looking at the ladies, they thought, yeah, I could do that too. They probably don't do that too, but they could probably relate to somehow being maxed out brain-wise. And today was, I feel like, even a little worse. I don't know if you've ever had a shift in what day you think it is. Even if you knew what day it was earlier, I I've had it happen before. And most of the time I can keep it together. And I really think I need to go back to a system of having each day written down on the board. I bought a chalkboard with chalk markers. Maybe I need to buy another one. I put it up and I was using it for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I thought, whatever I have written on the calendar, I'll have the steps for each day in a different color. And then when I wake up that day, I look at it, I get a clear picture in my mind and I go for it. I stopped doing that because my grandchildren thought it was fun to either have me write things up there, like, what are we going to do today? Let's color, then we'll read books, then we'll go swimming. We'd write little things down there. We'd also write, no jumping on the couch or keep food in the kitchen. I was using it for order with them, which became really useful, but I haven't used it for myself, and I'm seeing that that was helpful in that regard. Something that I've been doing for quite a while that has been really helpful, but clearly wasn't enough today, was setting an alarm the night before I go to bed, telling me what time to get up, what time to leave for each yoga class, or if I teach on Zoom, to set up for that, walk in, so I don't miss it. And I don't know if when this glitch happened. I don't think it was last night. I don't know. I went to bed last night and I thought, okay, you need to do this at this time, then you need to, and I set my alarms and got up earlier. So today was unusual and maybe that set me off. I had to drive my daughter to work at 6:30 because she was going to go on a trip straight from work and we needed to have the car back here. So that may have set me off. I don't know. But I taught my first class. I teach a morning class Monday, Wednesday, Friday at a gym and knew that tonight is the next class I have. I think I knew that last night, but for some reason this morning I thought, oh, don't forget you have your Zoom class, and instead of at noon, it's at 11. So set your alarm and make sure you don't miss it because I didn't want my brain to forget to go in there at 11. So I set the alarm, went in and set it up. 11 o'clock came, and the couple that I teach private yoga to didn't come on. And that isn't the first time that I've gotten on before them, but usually they'll send a text and say, we're trying to get on or something like that. And I waited a minute or two. And if I don't hear from them, I look on my sent emails in that folder to see if the email went out to them saying, here's the link for today. I looked and it said, here's the link for Tuesday. And I thought, oh, it doesn't say Thursday. It doesn't. And so I thought, what's the quickest way to get them a link? I went into the Tuesday email and said, I just saw that it didn't give you a link for Thursday. Go ahead and use this one. I'm on. Sorry about that, or something like that. So I send them that, and I go out of my Zoom link and into that Tuesday one because you can use them more than once, even though they're set up for each day, and waited a few more minutes. And I thought, well, in case they didn't see their email, I'll send them a text. So I sent them a text and thought, I wonder why I did the scheduled send for the wrong day. Instead of it going on Thursday, it's scheduled for the next day on Friday. I sat there for probably 10 minutes before I realized it wasn't Thursday. It was Wednesday. It was Wednesday. I knew it was Wednesday when I woke up. I knew it was Wednesday when I went to my class this morning, but when I came home, somehow my brain switched gears and switched gears or shifted gears. You shift gears in a car, right? Anyway, yeah, I got off track, and which wouldn't embarrass me too much if I just did it on my own. It's frustrating because I don't like wasting time, and I don't like feeling like I'm not on top of it, but it's even a little embarrassing when you shared that with other people. So I texted him back, sorry, for a little bit I thought it was Thursday. See you tomorrow. Anyway, yeah. What are your scattered moments? Do you have any? Do you have reasons that they happen more often than others? Because having ADHD brings that scattered brain already, and other things can make it ramp up. It can make it ramp up, and it could be a chaotic environment. Having a cleaner room to work in is helpful, but also not having to think of lots of things to do can be helpful. And what if we do have lots of things to do? I think when I went on my vacation, I got in a mode of not even getting on my computer. I brought it with me. I was going to work on some things for this week for my website, for my ADHD assessment tool. I'm laughing because I've already revamped it twice and I need to revamp it again. So, yeah, something I'm still working on. I thought that I'd have these pockets of time on my trip where I wouldn't have anybody to see, so I'd just go to a coffee shop where they have free Wi-Fi, order a muffin or something, and sit and work on my laptop. It never happened. It never, ever happened, which is good because I got to see so many great people. I even got to go to the fire departments where I used to teach yoga and see the firefighters. If you knew how much I love the firefighters, well, maybe you do. I probably mentioned it before. You know how much that means to me, but I didn't get to work on my computer. And I think that gave my brain a really nice break. And when I got back, it's not that I don't like doing those things. I actually really do. I love creating content. I love learning more about ADHD and finding ways to share that with you and hopefully help in some way. And through the process, I'm able to see my own dysfunction show up in a way that's probably helpful because I can identify more struggles, more things that happen, and I hope you know that as you have peaks and valleys, peaks in the ADHD, valleys in your functionality, that that will happen, but we're strong, right? We hopefully can laugh at these things or just think, what can you do? What can you do? It happens, and then we stand back up and keep going and try to simplify and try to think of other ways to keep our minds a little clearer or make it a little more clear to our brains what's going on. And I don't know how to ever get past the awareness of where a phone is. Isn't that weird? I mean, we used to go through life without phones in our hands all the time, and we've made it more complicated. I really believe that because in the days before cell phones, we walked around the house without a phone in our hand or our pocket or wondering where it is, especially when it was hooked to a cord. That was a phone cord, right? Not a cable. If you lived in the era of phone cords, not cordless phones, but phone cords that look like a little swirly thing, if you even lived in the area of phones that dial instead of touch tones, you remember, ooh, that's cool. All they have to do is touch the buttons to dial their number instead of wait for, it to dial, dial, dial. And then the cordless phones were great because you could walk around the house. You're not as tied to that room, but you had the chance of losing it. But they were pretty big, and we really only had one in the house, maybe two. Maybe as we got older, had bigger houses, maybe more. But we have complicated our environments by having more things to bring with us when we get in the car. Do you have your wallet? Do you have, if you wear glasses, sunglasses, do you have your purse? Do you have your phone? Do you have a charger? Do you have, all those things? It's a lot. Huh? And then when you are in the house, where did you put this? Where did you put that? There's more things to deal with it. And keys, I remember my mom used to lose her keys all the time. But really, if you come in the house and you put the key, she used to have a really big ring, one of those rings that's about as big as a softball, and hang it on a hook. That was her method. We have a key drawer. But if you got that key in the right place when you walked in the house, you were good. When you carry a phone around the house all day or earbuds, you don't have a pocket, whatever, it can be more complicated, way more complicated. I hope I'm not overwhelming you by talking about getting maxed out, but I think it happens to a lot of us and it can be frustrating. And when it happens, you really do need to just sit down, think about a way to help with that, maybe for the rest of the day, for the next day. For me, I'm going to go back to that chalkboard, but I kind of hate to do that because my granddaughter was here 2 days ago and she drew a really cute picture. So I might have to come up with a different method or order a different chalkboard. It is Prime Day. And speaking of Prime Day, so by the time this podcast posts, it'll be past Prime Day. So but I'm recording this on Wednesday, but I really was thinking about this morning. I really think that the stress in my brain that Prime Day is giving is adding to this. Does that sound crazy? Did this happen to you? Maybe you're not as avid of an online shopper as I am, but I order pretty often from Amazon, and obviously my podcast isn't big enough that I feel like, oh, I'm advertising or I'm shouldn't be whatever. My brother works for Amazon. He's a manager, and if it gives him a little more business, yay for that. But I feel like with Prime Day, the last few years, we moved here in July of 2022 and moved into our house on July 1st. And my brother kept saying, there's Prime Day. Don't buy your TV yet, or don't buy this because there'll be Prime Day deals. And I thought, but I can't wait 2 weeks. I need, or 3 weeks, whatever it is, July 15th, 16th. I can't wait that long. I need these things now. And so as I saw online, Prime Days in 2 more days, 3 more days, I'd go onto Amazon and I'd think, but I need these things sooner. So I'd order them then, really believing they're probably not going to go that much cheaper. But it brought this pressure. Like each time I go on the website, I'd have this pressure to either not buy things, to wait to buy things, to think of things to buy. And then yesterday I kept going on there feeling all this pressure, like you need to find something. And I thought, I don't really need anything. I mean, I might, but I can't think of anything and stop telling me to think of something. Today was the same way. I finally just thought, just exit out. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. But I don't know. I don't know. Do you get Prime Day stress? Maybe it makes you happy. Maybe you have a way of going into it that I don't see of, oh, good, this is happening, and now I can buy this because it's on sale or something. Not me. Not my post-trip brain function. PTBF. If there was a learning point to this podcast, because I feel like I really just had to get out some of those mm, glitches, those brain glitches, those public embarrassments. Some of them aren't as public, but I saw that happen quite a few times on my trip too. And I could identify what maybe led to that in my brain getting a little maxed out or overburdened or something. The first was when I got my rental car. I got into a car and it was so different than my car. And my car, I'm even a little off if my husband adjusts the seat and I get in and I think, oh, I got to get all this right so I can just drive and have a clear mind. And with my rental car, it was really messing with me with the the drops that when they washed the car, they left the drops on the rear view mirrors. I couldn't see very well. It was nighttime, or where the drive and the reverse, that wasn't up in front of me on the dashboard. It was actually on the gear shift. Things like that. Not using a real key, using the push button key. I have an older car. I'm not used to that. So all those things, the first couple days, it was frazzling me. And I could see that and I could identify that. And since I've gotten home, I've been identifying, why aren't you just back in the groove? Why not? Where are you getting stuck? What is causing you to get stuck? And I think for executive dysfunction, it's more like what's tripping you up. Thinking of where you get stuck, there are times we get stuck and we can't get ourselves to move forward, maybe getting overwhelmed by something, or what's tripping you up, what is causing you to not be able to proceed in a way that is a lot more helpful in your day, a lot more successful, a lot more streamlined. There are so many things we can do within our environment to help with that. And that's definitely a big part of it. But I also think we need to make it as easy as we can for our brains when things come up. And that's just having clarity, whether it's starting the day with some quiet. I don't know if that's possible for you, or some clarity. I've been doing it the night before, trusting that when I wake up the next morning, I'll remember the same thing I thought the night before, because that helps me the night before to see, okay, tomorrow you're doing this. I'll set out the clothes for that. I'll know what time I have to get up. I'll know what time the key things are. But there have been times, and today with that getting on Zoom on the wrong day was an example of it. And thankfully, it was an example of doing it the day before instead of the day after, because I have missed things before. And it's been a few years since I've missed things before because I didn't want it to happen again. And I've made steps to make sure that doesn't happen again. So now I'm looking at it and thinking, what's your new system? What is a way to make that more possible to be functional? Something that I'm going to try, and you're welcome to try it too, is to start each day with 3 ways of recognizing what my day is going to be like. And this can help, one, so I don't forget things, but also just to not go around the day trying to figure out what to do. I don't know if that's another struggle you have. It happens to me some days. Some days it's more clear for me what I need to do because other people are involved. Someone's going to come over. I need to have an appointment. I'm going to teach a class. I have a phone call. Other people are involved. And so I have a better idea of what time those things happen because of those commitments. But there's other times that I might have a day where I have all the way between now and 7 o'clock where I don't have to be somewhere, talk to somebody, take care of somebody. What am I going to do at that time? Sometimes it's nice just to float around the day and figure it out as you go. But with an ADHD brain, sometimes you have so many ideas that it's hard to make those decisions. It's hard to prioritize. It's hard to not think of the 70 other things that you could be doing when you're doing this one thing. So, what I think would be helpful, and I'm going to try it. I've done it to some degree before, but I'm going to try it and I'll let you know how it goes. But it helps me to have a visual of what I'm going to do, and not just the night before, but the day of. So when you start your day, have a visual, whether it's a calendar, a wall calendar, a phone calendar, a planner, a post-it note, whatever it is that's written, whether digitally for me, real life, paper, pen, print is better, but whatever helps your brain get it in there, have a visual of this is what I'm doing today, and have that visual in a place where you can see it more than one time that day. It might be in your kitchen, it might be by your desk, wherever it is that you'll pass it more than once because you could forget. So visual is one. Another is audible, something that makes a sound that helps you remember, and alarms are fantastic for that. It could also be a person. Have you ever said that to somebody? Remind me when it's time to do this. Or actually, my husband helps me all the time when I set an alarm in the kitchen and or on my phone and I walk in the other room. He'll say, there's a buzzer going off, and I'll think, oh yeah, I was baking cookies or whatever. Sometimes the person helping you hear that could be helpful too. But if you set some kind of alarm or have somebody call you at a certain time. And obviously, we don't want to put the responsibility on someone completely, but there are people that that's no problem for because it's on their mind and they're happy to do it. So I've heard of people having a friend call them and say, "Don't forget tonight we're going to this," or send me an email. Although an email's not audible, but a reminder, a reminder. I'm just thinking of the senses. If we have the eyes see it, because sometimes we remember from what we see, the ears, sometimes we hear it, and I'm I'm becoming more of a fan of saying things out loud, vocalizing it. So whether you pray and you pray out loud, today this is my plan, please help me with this. I don't know, whatever your prayers are, or even just talking to yourself in the mirror. Have you ever done that? I probably talk to myself more walking around without looking in the mirror, but you could talk to yourself in the mirror. You could have a mantra. You could have today is Monday on your mirror and say it out loud and what you need to do. Or if you're having a hard time getting yourself to go exercise, just say, go exercise. Sometimes vocalizing something will help motivate and help you remember. So, those are my little tips for today. Obviously, I'm needing them right now too. But as I've seen times of my life where I'm very productive, I've grown a lot in understanding my ADHD and how to work with it. And then sometimes I slide down that chutes and ladders game and have to start climbing up again, step by step. I hope this was helpful for you today in some small way. It was helpful for me. I just needed to get back in the saddle here. For my podcast, I made the other ones for the last 2 weeks before I left on my trip and was so sure I just jumped back right in, but I was running in all directions for a while. But I am glad to be back. And speaking of things that I'm working on, my first challenge, 5-day focus challenge, starts on Monday, July 22nd. So go to my website, renee-allen.com, renee-allen.com, however you want to say that. And I have a few places on each page where you can sign up for free for my 5-day focus challenge. Next week, you'd get an email each day with a few steps, a little video in each email, and just something to work on. Just set aside 30 minutes, 20 minutes. You could set aside more time if you want, but that's the minimum it would take. And if you want to really grow with it, and I'm excited to do that with you. I hope you do it. I'll be there with you. And until then, thank you for being here. Bye.
Open windows, broken shadows. Frozen dreams are left for tomorrow. Without a cause, no time for a pause. Rewind, I've run out of time to sing melodies and harmonies. I'm cut short, the silence of sound has yet been found, but not by me.